The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Autism Live. We're very excited because right now we're coming to you live on Facebook and on YouTube. This is our maiden voyage with a regular show, and we're really excited. We want to thank Samantha Leone for being the technical genius and production genius that she is. Thrilled to be here with you this morning. We're going to be with you live for the next 2 hours. Fingers crossed that it all goes well. If not, we'll be on one or the other until we can get back on the other one. But thrilled to be here with you. Got to remind you that we're coming to you live from the Warner Center in Woodland Hills, California. This is the home for Autism Live. It is also the home for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I mentioned that we're going to be live for the next 2 hours, and Samantha's going to show you some of the different ways that you can connect with us. It's a little bit different as of this morning, and if this goes well, we're going to keep doing it in this way because you know we want to get to as many people as we can on as many screens as we can, right? But here are some of the different ways that you can currently get in touch with us. I want to remind you that our homepage is autism-live.com. Lots of things that you can do on that page. We have a blog. There are ways to connect and watch the most recent 100 episodes of the show there. There's also something called the live feature. If you go there and put your cursor in the box that says your questions, you can type and hit enter and it will show up here on the screen. But now you can do that on Facebook as well, which might be easier for you to do. Either way, you can also send your questions in on YouTube. You can be watching us on YouTube. We have thousands of hours of programming there that you can check into and look at. And you can search by topic when you go to YouTube, which is a really great thing. But we're also on iTunes and Stitcher, and I want to remind everybody that we're free in all of those places because we think it's important for you to be able to get information in a timely manner and in a way that you can afford it, and basically that means free, right? I want to remind you of a couple of different things. I'm an autism parent, not an expert in autism, but we have tons of autism experts that we feature on the show. None better than the expert that we have joining us in just a minute, because on Wednesdays we have Ask Dr. Doreen, and then in our second hour we have Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. My better half, Nancy Allspaw Jackson, as many of you know, is under the weather and not able to be with us today. We so appreciate all the cards and letters and well wishes for Nancy, and we're sharing those with her, and I want you to know that it really lifts her up. It's a hard time of the year, especially since her husband Reed passed away this year. This is the first holiday without him, and then to be sick on top of it. I'll tell you, it's a challenge, but she's feeling your love, and we're sending her more. All appreciated. But my friends, I'm so excited because it is time for Ask Dr. Doreen.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen. I'm so excited that we're getting to more people than ever this morning because we have Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet with us, and she is a true expert in the field of autism. I believe the preeminent expert in the field of autism. I was going to say in our time, but really in all time, expert in the field of autism.
I think we're going a little overboard here.
I don't think so at all. And I'm the arbitrator of that because I said so. But Dr. Grand-Pichet has been working in this field for 30 plus years. which you wouldn't know to look at her. But I think sometimes the kids are part of what helps to keep you young and keep all the people who work in the field of autism young.
For sure, and the parents, for sure. No
Well,
question about
that
it.
didn't rub off on me as an autism parent.
Absolutely. I don't know if you heard this morning. I was reading
Yes.
an email from one of the parents, and we get so many of these emails, and they're just so touching, and they're just such a breath of fresh air. Like, it's not even about, it's just about the effect these therapists have, and I just love that. It's such an amazing thing when you read these emails.
Well,
It's so touching.
I was thinking about this morning. Now, this is the last show of the year that we have Dr. Graham-Pichet. See, I'm already going to get weepy. And normally I give you a present in the last show, and it's not done yet. So you're not getting your present today. I'm just letting you know that.
Thank you.
You're going to get it later on in the
That's
week or the
great.
beginning of next week. But I was thinking all this last couple of weeks about what I really want to get you this holiday season. And what I really want to get you is time. I want to be able to give you time. If I could give you a day of my life, and you know
Oh my God, you're
how
so
much I
nice.
love my life and love my little
Thank
boy, but if I could give you a day of my life, I
Thank
know
you.
you would do amazing things with it, and I would.
That's such an amazing thing to say. Thank you so much.
Well,
That's
and I mean
incredible.
it from the bottom of my heart, but I was thinking, but often, but not every day, but I'm going to make an effort to make sure that it's every day, you are in my prayers.
Thank you so much.
And I know that you are in so many other autism parents'
Thank you
prayers, that
very
we
much.
thank you and we have so much gratitude for you for the things that you do and that you
Thank you
have
so
been
much.
doing for decades, helping all kinds of individuals on
Thank
the
you.
spectrum.
You're gonna make me all emotional
No, see,
now on air.
It's that thing. I'm already crying today. But we do appreciate you, and I want for people who don't know you to know that you have been working in this field for more than 30 years, ranging from very small babies up through senior citizens on the autism spectrum, helping them to find their way, to be able to do the things that are important to them, that you look at each individual and help each individual. And that in and of itself is miraculous. But you also are better than anybody else I know at being able, perspective taking is really one of your many, many talents, and teaching. You're an amazing teacher. You've been able
Thank
to
you.
take what you know and give it to others, which is one of the great gifts to us, that you have a legacy of people who now know how to give this to other people, but you take care of the families. You see the individual, you take care of them as a whole person, and you take care of the families, and you are a visionary who has seen what's coming down the path, and there is no better time that we need someone like you than right now.
Thank you so much. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. But I have to say, I've had kind of a very, I feel like yesterday I was out at UCLA. I was trying to talk to UCLA psychology department to try to see if we can start a behavioral psych program there, which we can't, unfortunately, right now. And it was kind of a very melancholy visit because I was told that they're shutting down the psychology building for a few years for seismic renovations. But when I was there, and of course I can't go to UCLA without going to the 5th floor where I studied for 12 years, and I went up there and I was just thinking to myself, like, oh my gosh, when I started the studying of autism and when I started working in autism in 1978, I went up to the 5th floor where there were several rooms there and are all of our offices, and Lovas's office and my office and so on, and then one of the offices right next to his was a room that in the 70s had a electric grid floor. And then later on, of course, they came and covered it with wood and carpet and stuff. But that room was one of the rooms where the original research was done to try to teach attachment behavior, because many, many, many years ago in the 60s, when they first started experimenting with behavioral technology techniques and autism, and people have to understand that autism looked incredibly different back in the 60s. It was a much, much more severe type of disorder than it is now. But one of the things that they used to do was, this was pre my time, was that parents would stand on one side of the room on a platform, and then the child was on this electric floor, and the the electricity would turn on. It was a very mild electrical thing. We experimented with it later ourselves, but it would tickle your feet, kind of make you uncomfortable. You would run to the platform, and this taught you to go to the parent for relief, basically, and it taught attachment behavior. It sounds a lot more horrible when I say than what it actually was, because when you think of electricity, everybody thinks like, whoa, that's scary. But
Right.
really, when it's a very mild amount, it just feels like kind of a little tickle.
Okay.
But I was there and I thought to myself, oh my God, how far have we come? That's where I was trying to go with this, because later, when I started there in the late 70s, we of course had the whole room redone, covered, and then that room became our studio, which was very similar to this, but it wasn't a filming studio. It was like that room, the production room, and there was a massive, I assume now it was an AVID thing, and we had these film producers who were there helping produce the 1987 recovery video, and I worked a lot on that video with them, which shows a lot of children before and after intervention.
Yes.
And so I stood there at the door of that room, and I thought to myself, all the different things that we used that room for. Then later on, I used it for my doctoral dissertation studies, like when I had subjects coming in there, participants, and all these thoughts. And then I thought, okay, and then I left UCLA in 1990 and started CARD, and then all the things we've learned since then, and like where we started, honestly, Shannon, it's like a completely different program than what it was in 1990, even, because every year that goes by, you learn something new. And then I came home and I started telling my daughter, Nikki, who is very involved with psychology now, and I started talking to her about it. And she always gives me these things to think about. And she's working on a lit review for one of our staff here. And I was like, what's the lit review about? And she was like, well, it's about the fact that functional behavior assessments should be different for kids with autism, because kids with autism don't react the same to social attention, right? So obviously we should be looking at their motivation for attention-seeking behavior as somewhat different.
Right.
And I thought, wow, that's an amazing study, right? And I think it's actually Esther's study. I'm not sure whose study it is, but I thought to myself, and this was probably the last thing she said to me last night, and I thought, like, the number of people, and earlier in the day I had gone to visit her in our metabonomics lab, where they're actually, doing things on children's feces and like trying to...
The poop study, as I fondly refer to it.
And I thought to myself, like, it's unbelievable how far we've come and how many things we still have to learn.
Yes.
We still have to learn, because you cannot in any way assume that what we're doing at CARD, and this mom's email today brought all this back for me today, because she said, she was just saying how great we are in Orange County where she is. And I was thinking, honestly, the spirit and the energy and the wonderfulness of all of our CARD staff just flows through to some of our children and the families, and it's so beautiful. But I just wish that I had the energy that I had 30, 40 years ago, because I wish that I could just learn more and I could help more families, because there are still so many families where the best we can do is to help maintain and help reduce challenging behavior, but we can't. We still, to this day, are not recovering all of our kids, obviously, and so that means there's something we still don't know.
Yes.
There's so much we still don't know about autism. And my hope and wish is that, and I'll be in this field for a long time to come, but I hope that by the time the next decade, I hope that we all can learn much more about how our kids process the world, what are the best things we can do for them, before birth, at a very young age, during adulthood, throughout their lifespan. What can we do to help them better? And that's truly my wish to God for this season.
Absolutely
Really.
Wonderful and lovely to hear. But as I was saying before, there's so many things that are wonderful about you, but truly at the heart of what's wonderful about you is that you have not had an ego about this.
Oh,
But but honestly, that's a huge gift to our community that you've not had an ego about it, because you have taken what you know and you have disseminated to others, and you have found, when you have seen some, and I've watched you do this, when you see somebody who has talent, you have said, run. You go find out what you know about that and come back and tell all of us, and given them a platform with which to do that.
Absolutely.
But everybody, I get goosebumps when I think about this. Everybody wouldn't be like that. I have watched you when you have said, we know things, let's share it.
Oh, yeah.
And people have said to you, oh, you want to be cautious about that. And you have said, no, no, no. We are not, we know answers, we need to share them.
Oh my gosh.
And so when my child was treated, I remember when the day my kid was diagnosed, and we're coming up on the 11-year anniversary of it, and the doctor said to me, well, be grateful you live in this time, because we've learned more about autism in the last 5 years than we did the 50 years before total.
True.
And I thought, okay. And then in the next 5 years,
so much more.
So much happened. And now I've been here for more than 5 years, and I've watched. I remember 5 years ago when you and Dr. Dixon were talking about phenotyping autism, and I thought, oh, if that could happen in my lifetime, and you've done it.
Well, we're getting there, and it is
with
showing
at least
already.
7 areas you've done it, and that you know things that we didn't know 2 years ago about how to do it better, and that. When I think about I didn't meet you until Jem was almost done. You had not met my child, but I had every great thing that can be imagined, and I got my child back because you taught other people how to do that. And that's amazing.
And there are so many incredibly caring people at CARD, which I think is the biggest part of our success, is just that that spirit of wanting to help and wanting to learn and wanting to share whatever we learn with our families is all throughout CARD. And it just is fascinating because, people say you were growing so fast. As you know, we have over 100 sites now, and next year we're hoping to double that. But you worry when, my focus the last year or so or two has been, hey, we're growing fast, let's make sure we don't lose quality. And so, but Shannon, I'll be very honest with you, there are so many people here who worry about that. Like the seniors, all the senior staff are just like, okay, no, we got to increase training. We got to watch over quality. We got to do clinical QA, all this sort of stuff. But also, it's just the genuine desire of the majority of our clinical staff to actually make sure they're at the forefront of therapy themselves. We don't even have to watch them because there's so many of them that want to actually make a difference. The young girl, Gianna, that I was reading about today, she's just, that's how spectacular is that, to not only help the child, but to spend that much time helping the parent understand what's going on. I think that's just fabulous.
Yeah, and I'm going to say one more thing in this Love Fest, and then we're going to get into your questions.
Yes, sorry.
But no, I think it's important. But I heard a young therapist at a meeting last week talk about her experience and her time here. And one of the things that she said is, as a young woman, it has meant so much to me to work at a company that was started by a woman who conducts herself with strength and leadership and hope and changes the direction of the world. And I am walking behind her proudly.
That's so
that's
amazing.
You.
Yeah, that's so amazing.
And so it all goes back to
awesome.
the head, right? And you lead well. So
thank you very
we love
much.
you.
Thank you, and I love you.
Well, there we go. I'll mop down here. But here, I want to get into some questions that you guys, and you can be writing in questions on Facebook. First question, any tips or insight about teaching humor to an 8-year-old with high functioning autism? He seems to have the most inappropriate sense of humor. I just want to say that 7 and 8 is my favorite age range.
Right.
Because that is the age that Alice in Alice in Wonderland is. She was 7.
Oh, okay.
And I love, if you want to send me into a classroom, I love all kids, but send me into a 7 and 8-year-old, because they all have ridiculous sense of humor.
Yes.
And I love that.
Yes.
I love the inappropriateness. They don't know about being politically correct.
That's true.
So so I just want to put that in there, that all 7 and 8-year-olds, It's the fart joke humor.
Oh, sure.
I love that. I absolutely
I think a
adore
lot of
it.
us get stuck at that age. I
Yes,
know I do.
and many men get stuck at that age, which is why we have the movies
That's
that we
true.
have.
That's so true.
And there, I only enjoy watching those kinds of movies if there is a 7-year-old, an 8-year-old, or an adult male who has not left that age range.
Exactly.
Because that's the only way I can really
That's
appreciate
right.
it.
Otherwise, they think we're crazy laughing
Right,
at
because
it.
you're like, okay, really, poo-poo humor is that funny? But it is when
you
you're
know,
with somebody who appreciates
And
it.
it's good that you say that, because I often feel that the majority of our kids, especially when you look at a high functioning child, you know, they are typically in humor or in social settings, and so they're just like a couple of years behind. And so, like, if this is an 80-year-old, they're probably functioning in most areas similar to a typically developing, let's say, 5 or 6-year-old.
Okay.
And that's a very important fact, because 5 and 6 is where perspective taking and theory of mind actually begins to develop very seriously. So at around the age 5 is where we really start to comprehend other people's perspectives. The fact that other people have separate minds starts to really, in typical children, develop heavily at that point. It develops from birth. Joint attention starts very early, but by 5, we, you know, I always say in my lectures that the first sign that we know other people's minds are separate from ours is around age 4, where we start to lie. Lying is the very first healthy sign of knowing that they don't know what's in my mind, so I can lie.
That's interesting, because we have a question about lying later on, too.
Yeah, so lying is one of the very important skills, and it is actually a very adaptive skill, right? Sometimes you just have to lie, and people don't realize that lying, you know, complimenting people socially is half the time 50% lie.
Yeah.
You know, there's very few people who empathetically will just want to say, oh my God, you look so amazing.
Yeah.
You know, I wish I looked like you. Half of that is a lie. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
So, like, most of
yes.
the time, exaggeration is a lie. All of those things. And jokes are a lie. Humor
Yes.
is a lie, because the way that humor works is that you say something that makes the individual listening go down a certain path, and then you twist the ending.
Yes.
And that's what makes them laugh. And in order to be able to do that, you have to be able to hold on to facts that the other individual doesn't know yet, because it's a surprise. Tricks, card tricks, all of these are depend on that factor of being able to hold information in your head that the other person doesn't expect. And it's the unexpectedness that produces that reaction. So first of all, let's understand that this is not a huge delay that we're talking about here.
Right.
And it is not unusual that he would have an inappropriate sense of humor. It's pretty typical.
Right.
So yes, I have the exact direction for you. As you can, like, you know, fortunately years ago, probably about 10 years ago, maybe more. Yeah, probably more than that. I keep forgetting how long we've been doing this, but quite a while ago, we started to see this problem with many of our younger kids, and we realized we actually have to teach them jokes. We have to teach them not just jokes, but this whole process of using the information in their head in a way that they never would normally, because, you know, it's funny, in Recovered, you see Nick, one of our kids, actually saying a thing where he says, this was a joke that I made up, and I used to have a very hard time telling jokes because I'd always give away the punchline, right? And it's the reason I put that in the film, I kept that in the new version of the film, was that it's such an important statement that he makes, because, like, a lot of our kids don't realize that other people can't see inside their head.
Right.
And because of that, they don't know how to tell jokes, they don't know how to trick, they don't know how to tell lies, all that sort of stuff. So fortunately, Nick taught us, and some other kids taught us back in the day. And what we did is we broke this down to the most incredible details and produced a series of lessons in the right hierarchy and in the right order for all of our families. So if you should go on Skills, which the website is skillsforautism.com. It's hard to see it on here, but skillsforautism.com. And if you actually do put in your child's, specifically go to the cognition curriculum. If you don't want to do the whole thing, there's 8 areas. Go to the area that's called cognition. Go to that area, answer all those questions, and you will see a series of lessons that will lead you to this level, which is an advanced level of deception. That whole area is really referred to as deception, and it starts with, and there's humor, and there's telling jokes, and there's all these different things in that section. So I highly recommend you go in there, and it will get you to the point of teaching your child how to tell jokes. But you have to start with a more basic black and white kind of teaching the child to, and this is normal development too, with when kids start telling jokes, the basic early 3 or 4 year jokes are very black and white, and it's only 5, 6 years old when we actually make those jokes much more abstract. So start with the whole, if you do the order correctly that we have in skills, you'll be able to see how this develops.
Absolutely love it. My son went through it, and my son is hilarious. I wouldn't have it any other way. And it's been interesting watching him grow his sense of humor. And sometimes it's still inappropriate. But I disclosed, I didn't realize it was a big secret. It is on our website that I used to be a stand-up comedian.
Yes.
But you didn't know until recently.
I didn't, and I love it.
I talk to Jem all the time about how true good comedy, like there's a line.
Yes.
And there's a line where it's too far.
Right.
And good comics constantly look for the line.
That's
Because
right.
if you get right to the line.
That's right.
And so we talk about that, and I will point out to him in real life, on television, see, that was over the line.
Yeah.
Did you hear the audience react? That was over the line. And then we look and see what the person does to rectify it. Like sometimes the comic will tell a joke and the audience goes, oh, and I go over the line. And then you hear the comic go, oh, too soon? And they make a joke of the fact that they went over the line.
Right.
So we talk about that all the time. And I will say to him when he tells a joke, oh, good, that was right on the line. Or, oh, I was over the line, dude.
That's
You're
so
over
funny.
the line.
Yes, yes.
And early on, where we would, because you take your lessons and skills and then you try to take them out into life and work on them. So the best show in the world for that is America's Funniest Home Video.
Oh yeah, oh my gosh.
In fact, we had Vin DeBona on the show to talk about that, about the fact that so many of our kids like to watch it. And sometimes there are inappropriate things that people laugh at, and then you talk about that.
Absolutely.
We loved Kelby Wood, who used to work here, and Kelby was somebody who always laughs at the inappropriate things still.
Oh, really?
Always.
That's so funny.
Right? So, and he's an adult male, very successful, and, he's okay. But he will tell you that he laughs at the inappropriate thing, and that he has to, we were at shoots sometimes, and somebody would say something, and he would,
oh, really?
Laugh at the inappropriate thing.
That's so funny.
But that show is amazing. And it makes me think of, since we brought up Vin DeBona, that of course we lost Alan Thicke last night. And we're going to talk about that in the next hour during Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy, because Alan Thicke was a great supporter of Act Today.
He was, absolutely. In fact, he was at our fundraiser a few years ago.
Yes. And so we're going to talk specifically about Alan, but since Vin came up,
absolutely.
we do want to mention that. All right, so humor, what a great thing. What a great thing that you're asking questions about.
Definitely, and it's wonderful that that's where your child is. And I want to say one last thing, which is that my son has become a very humorous person, as you know. He's a great comedian.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And I think what changed him and led him to that humor was early in his life, and he's always been a writer. Like from the time he was very, very little, he would write books. But I think what started him on the humor track was one of my friends bought him a series of the Calvin and Hobbes books. Oh, yeah. And that changed him. Like he somehow, it clicked with him, and because it's very young humor and it's very okay humor, that might be a place where you want to start. You have to kind of find the thing that triggers your child's their own humor, and gets them laughing, because then once you have that, then you can help them analyze what it is and how they can produce that themselves.
Yeah, Wonderful. Wonderful thing to be working on.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to take a break and then we're going to be back with more of your questions. And hopefully, I'm having issues with Facebook in here, but we're going to try to get some of the questions that you guys are writing in on Facebook. Stick with us.
So we're going to do down dog next. So with down dog, there are several different ways that you can do it, and I want to show you first and then help you with yours so that we can work on what feels good for you, okay? All right, because there's no right way to do it. It's more about what your body likes, all right? So for me, what I'm going to do is start off with my hands at the top of my mat, my headlights. My fingers are aiming towards the top of my mat, and then I'm going to tuck my toes. And then my head is also going to drop, and I'm going to look between my toes. Okay. And my body should be, or hopefully, like an A shape. Or V, yes.
Upside down V.
Yep. And so if your quads are tight or your hamstrings are tight, you might need to bend your knees a little bit.
Then it's you.
Or if your shoulders are a little strained or a little tight, remember to push in through your feet, but also sometimes what feels really good is going down on your forearms, like this. You can actually start out this way instead, it's a little easier. So your forearms rest on the floor, you still tuck your toes, and then you're still looking between your toes, but rather than being on your hands then, your weight's along your hands and your forearms. Okay? All right. So, now it's your turn. Okay. So, yep. You're going to do on your hands? Okay, yep. So your fingers are facing the front of the mat. Or are you doing forearms? Forearms? Okay, there we go. Wow, you're very bendy. Very nice. And your gaze is right here between your toes. Excellent. Very nice, Jem. Wow. Awesome. Feet are a nice distance apart. How does that feel?
Okay.
Awesome. You want to come down? Excellent. Good.
Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, and we're at the ABCs and XYZs of Special Needs Conference. And this year, for the first time, they've got something really remarkable. It's the Entrepreneurial Boutique. These are all items that have been made and are being sold by individuals who have special needs. So we're going to do a little shopping and talk to some of these fabulous entrepreneurs. Come on.
My name is Molly Rarick, and I'm founder of Breed's Gift. We're a nonprofit that serves teens and adults with special needs, like Chase here. We were founded in 2013 and serve people in the Conejo Valley, Santa Barbara, and LA.
Our main objective is to give our participants the skills they need to gain a more independent life.
My name is Shelley Cox, and Lisa Zalagi and I are founders of Creative Steps and Create Micro Business Enterprises. And the items that we're selling here today are all made by the clients who have passions about what they want to make, and then they get the profits from what they make after we've paid all of the other expenses.
We are here today because my goal is to be independent, and also I would like to share all my artwork, and I would like to sell.
Thinking about at his young age being a businessman, it's amazing. I cannot be more proud.
I'm thrilled to be here with you guys. We are live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, and this is very exciting for us. And we're thrilled so many of you are writing in and saying you're glad that we're on Facebook. We are too. But I want to turn to a question that we had come in on our live YouTube site. Can autism be related to roseola? This parent has heard of a history of many parents saying that their child had roseola before the age of 1, and then ended up having being on the autism spectrum.
So, if I'm correct. Roseola is herpes virus 6 or 7. And so it's a herpes related infection, and it's not necessarily, no one has really connected herpes to autism. Now, when we do talk about some kids who have eczema. Eczema is just sort of a generic term for rashes. It doesn't necessarily mean what the cause is, right? So there's a lot of different things that could potentially cause a rash. But with children particularly, I think, who have had problems with yeast, which also causes rash, then there is often a connection. We see a lot of kids who are having difficulty with yeast infections and candidiasis, and they do end up having autism, or we don't know which precedes the other. They're just correlated. But I have not had any correlation even with roseola. I have not seen that.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. And thank you for writing in that question on YouTube. I want to go back to questions from our home site, which is autism-live.com. And remind, if you're just joining us, we're here right now. We're going to be live. We're about a half an hour into our 2-hour long show. We're going to be live the whole time. We're here with Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh, who is an expert in the field of autism. We do like to remind everybody at the start of the show that you can write in your questions for free on any of the sites that we're on. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Facebook right now. But there is no expert in this format that could give individual specific advice. Right. So we like to keep the answers general in nature, but Dr. Granpeesheh is such a wonderful expert who has worked with so many different types of people on the spectrum over the years. She's a great person to ask questions for, and we appreciate her being here. I want to go on to this next question. Hi, Shannon and Dr. Doreen. Do you think it's a good idea to show a high-functioning teen their skills graph? The green red bar that shows skills to learn versus attain skills. Will that hurt the ego or help with focus on what to work on and be able to see progress? About to have the talk with my teen about autism, and working on skills is coming up next. Thank you and warmest wishes to you. P.S. Shocking how much red there was on the graph. Skills gave the info necessary to help us move forward and provide the path. And thank you. Now I just have to get moving. It's always that, right?
Yes, it is.
It's just keep swimming, as Dory would tell you.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, it is, please don't let it shock you or scare you. If you take that assessment, you'll have a few red things as well. If I take it, I'll have. Thank you for saying that. The truth is that we're very obsessive when it comes to skills and assessing our kids. And the reason for that is that not that every child has to achieve 100% of their skill, really learn everything and make the whole graph green. That's not the purpose. Because what happens, first of all, none of our kids get to that point. Let's just be very clear about it. But the reason that we're obsessive about this is that we want to make sure that we don't miss something that's a critical skill. There's the whole area, one of the subtypes of ABA is pivotal response training. And in that, what's important is to make sure that you teach the pivotal skills, the skills upon which other things depend. And that is often, I find, something very important in our field, because people will try to just hammer something down. Like we had earlier, we had the question about humor. And there is no way a child is going to successfully be able to understand humor or tell jokes if, for instance, they don't understand the basic first level theory of mind, which is just telling a lie, let's say. So there are certain things that just depend on other things, and it's really, we didn't want to miss any of those critical skills for a child, so we listed everything. But please don't assume that your child has to actually get 100% of what's in there. Showing the teen, high-functioning teen, what areas need to change, you can do, but what I would suggest is that you try to perhaps do one area at a time, and also perhaps produce a profile first for yourself. Maybe answer the questions in a way that allows your profile to not be that good either. And maybe look at like one area, maybe social skills, or another area would be executive functioning, or another area would be cognition. One of the areas and not all three, because you don't want to overwhelm the teen. You do want to give them a visual. What you're trying to do is you're trying to give them a visual of what they have to accomplish instead of, and you definitely don't want to overwhelm them. So it would be good if you did it for yourself and you kind of did a competition of some type. Like, you know, often my girls and I have 2 daughters, and like if we overeat for the holidays, then all 3 of us will be like, let's lose weight, who's going to lose 5 pounds faster, that kind of stuff. So it's sort of a manageable goal, and it's also a friendly goal, and everybody wins and that kind of thing. So if you do that, that might not be a bad idea. I recommend you look in the section that lists all the lessons. So like you will look at curriculum area, let's say cognition, and then look at the detail under that curriculum, because then it'll show all the different lessons within that area. And I think that's helpful for the teen to see.
Okay. And for anybody just tuning in, what we're talking about skills, you can check it out for yourself, skillsforautism.com, FOR autism.com, or you can call 877-975-4559. There are so many things about skills that are wonderful, but one of the first things that you get to do is take an assessment, and then it shows you, as we were talking last week about when you go to the mall, and you want to look to see how to get to Macy's, you go to look at the map and it says you are here, and then you can chart how to get to Macy's.
Right.
Well, this assessment gives you a picture and says you are here, and if you want to achieve what the norm is for that age, it shows you where the bar graph is. But as you said, no one's going to be 100% in the norm
on everything.
Ever.
Exactly.
It's not going to happen.
Exactly.
But so useful for those of you who are like, well, you know, now they give you a number for autism, but I was always saying, but where are we? Like, how far behind are we? And this not only shows you where you are, it shows you what you've been working on and how much you've gained for that, and how far you would have to go in separate areas.
That's right.
One of the things that was awesome for me is that, you know, when you go to an IEP and they talk to you about, well, we're working on, you know, the expressive and we're working on the receptive language and da-da-da-da-da. I'm a former teacher. When I was able to look and go, oh my goodness, his receptive skills are so much higher than I thought they were. Right. And his expressive is not as good as, but that means, that tells you how to teach somebody.
Absolutely. And I think it has a lot of different value, and we should talk about it a little bit, because I think it's helpful for people to grasp the enormity of what has to happen. You know, so when you first look at a child, you're looking at these 8 areas of functioning, and I think that's really important. So because you want to figure out what areas they're strong in and weak in, right? And so you're looking at, let's say, all these 8 areas are social, cognition, executive functions, play, motor, academic, adaptive, and language. Right, and those are all the areas. But let's say we're just now talking about social. Now, in social, there's, I don't know, hundreds of lessons, right? There's so many different areas that define what social behavior is. Let's just look at one. One area would be social conversation. Now, social conversation or social communication, I can't really focus on the social aspects of communication unless the conversation in language is up to par. So there's a prerequisite that connects right there. So if my child does poorly on that, the assessment questions that pertain to that, like a question could be, does your child know how to interact with a group of children, right? Verbally interact with a group of children. The answer is going to be no. But how you teach that is not by putting the child in a group of children and then modeling for them exactly what they're supposed to do. How you teach that is you go back and you divide that and say, what are the prerequisite skills for this? And there's some of them are going to be in other domains. For example, the child has to be fluent in just basic conversation, being able to, which means they have to be able to take turns. They have to be able to listen to other people and understand the meaning of what other people are saying, concrete and abstract. They have to be able to make sentences that are on point to the conversation, not irrelevant, and they have to keep the length of their utterance pretty equal to other people's. Like, we're always constantly paying attention to that. If all those things happen, then fine, they can join a group. But now there's also lots and lots of things that go into social communication just in the social domain. For example, the person has to learn how to pay attention to other people's body language.
Yeah.
What if people are walking away? What do I do now? How to repair the conversation. What if someone misunderstood and starts getting upset? How do I repair that and correct it and fix it? What if, a bunch of people start talking about another subject, but I haven't finished the thing I want to talk about? What do I do then?
Right.
How do I end it based on how people are interacting? How do I change my conversation based on the actual audience, the people there? Like, we interact very differently if it's a bunch of peers versus a bunch of teachers, let's say, or a bunch of adults, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all of that are individual lessons that have to be taught. And when they are taught, all of it comes together and forms this bigger thing, which is social communication.
Yeah.
Now, for a parent, it's incredibly important to be able to know which one of those sub lessons the child is able to do and is not able to do, so that you can fill in the gaps and then have a specific goal and then work towards that goal. That's what I find is often missing in things like IEPs, because or any kind of goal that we usually get for our kids, because no one really says, oh, okay, here's our bigger goal, here's all the sub objectives that we have to do, and this is where we're at. No one ever does that.
Yeah.
And if you do that, at first it seems like, whoa, we have 100 things to work on. But the truth is, they're smaller things, so you get through them, and it's a check off. It's kind of like, when you want to lose 10 pounds, you don't suddenly say, I'm going to lose 10 pounds. You do, you say, I'm going to lose a pound a week.
Right.
So every week I'm going to check this off. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the same thing.
It actually makes it more rewarding when you break it into the big...
possible.
Right, and
And
possible.
without that,
because you
it's
feel like I'm making
impossible.
progress. I'm making progress. I'm
Exactly.
moving in the right direction, which
Exactly.
is what works.
Exactly.
So amazing to see. So we're talking about skills. You can visit and find out more about skills by going to skillsforautism.com. It's also, you can call the number 877-975-4559. And by the way, there are other things in skills too, besides the assessment and the lessons and tips in teaching the lessons. There's a whole side of it that's just dealing with behavior.
Yes.
So check it out and call them and ask them, say, hey, I want to know more about this. Tell them Shannon and Dr. Doreen sent you. We'll love that. Okay, I want to continue on with another question here, and we're starting to run out of time. And so I want to go to the one that, because we had talked about lying a little bit. They said, good morning. How do I get my 12-year-old son to own up to his mistakes? He will be caught red-handed and still lie and deny and lie again. How can I help him be honest and accountable? And thanks. There is a silver lining in that, right?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
And so I don't know necessarily at this point that he's trying to not be accountable. I think he may, actually I see a lot of things in this. I don't know if he understands that that his lies are obvious. I don't know if that's the case, which basically means I don't know if he has a theory of mind. If he has a deficit in perspective taking, this is just going to be an impossible task for him. So please don't get mad at him, because he might not be lying. He might not be lying maliciously. He might just not understand that you can see through it. And that's most likely the case. So first thing you want to do is you want to actually just go back with and focus on the concept of truth or untruth, not as it pertains to him, but as it pertains to life. Like, for instance, this is a cup, right? And if I say this is a pen, that's a lie. But this is a pen. So if I say this is a pen, that's the truth. So work on those concepts with him first, just so he understands that. And I think if he's not owning up, so then the other aspect of this, it's not just the delivery, but it's the fact of he's not owning up to his mistakes. I think we don't own up to our mistakes when we have a lot of fear associated with it, and so you need to reduce the fear that's associated with this. And you can do that with two ways. One is that you can model for him and prompt for him to actually make a mistake and then tell you about it, and then you laugh about it. That way he will realize that he's not going to get a huge punishment for every mistake, because mistakes are mistakes after all, right?
Yeah.
We shouldn't get punished for mistakes. We mainly receive punishment in the world for things that we should have learned by now, but we're either being lazy about it or not paying attention or whatever. But everybody makes mistakes. The other thing you can do is you can make mistakes and laugh about it and so on, so that you show him that everyone actually does make mistakes and that it is okay to tell people that you made a mistake. Because accountability has to do with, being accountable for something. You have to have a lowered fear of the consequences of being accountable. And I think that's what you need to do, is you need to lower the fear that he's associating with telling you what just happened.
Yeah, our team, I don't remember whether it was you or the people on the team, but at some point we were told to make sure that there was a reward for telling the truth, and that the telling the truth was always a bigger reward than whatever punishment would come down the pike.
Definitely.
And we try to reiterate that because it is so important in the teen years that we make sure that our kids trust us enough to tell us the truth.
Right.
Because other
and
devastating things can happen.
Absolutely. Otherwise. And I want to go back to the psychology of why they trust you enough. It's funny because my kids tell me everything.
Yeah.
There is absolutely, I would say, probably less than a 1% of lying going on with my kids. And that is because they know no matter what they tell me, I'm not going to be angry. Yeah. I'm just going to put myself in their position and try to figure out why they did what they did and help them.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of owning up to our own mistakes has to do with that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That trust factor. Okay, I want to move on to another question here. They said a question for the psychologist. I work with two families who adopted a son who have autism. Around this time of year, both of them bring up their real family, and one of them is nonverbal and he always has behaviors. What do you think they are communicating to us? Hard to guess, right?
Yeah, I would not assume anything at this point because I don't know. A lot of times we think, when things happen together, we tend to put them in a time frame and think, oh, it must have something to do with this time of year. But I wouldn't make that assumption at this point. I would just, first of all, separate the two individuals. Whenever you're trying to figure out what happens with one child, you have to just identify the function. What is it they're telling you? Why are they telling you? What are the motivating factors? It's too hard for us to make any assumptions here.
Okay. And then what do you tell, because we've been talking a lot about the holidays, what do you tell caring relatives who point out deficits of our kid? Not to hurt, but to attempt to bring it to our attention. The elders in the family do this in hopes of helping. Their intention is good, but it drives me nuts. We are aware of those so-called deficits and are either working on them, or it's a low priority, or we're out of gas. Air hugs. Because we all get to that at some point, right? Mentioning those things brings up stress. So what do you recommend?
Honestly, the viewer who wrote this paragraph just wrote it so well.
Yeah.
So you don't need me to tell you because you just wrote what you should tell them. You specifically said, you know what, we're working on those, or it's a low priority, or I'm out of gas. That's what you tell them. And you tell them that you know that they're trying to help, but it causes stress because you already know and you're tired and you're doing the best you can. And that's essentially what you need to be telling people. And you know what? There's so many people in the world who just don't understand what it's like to live with a child with autism. I say, I've been working in this field for, as Shannon said, almost 40 years. And I still tell my staff, I cannot presume to know what it's like to be the parent of a child with autism or to live with a child with autism because I've had my friends who have children on the spectrum come and stay with us or vacation with us, and that's the closest I've ever gotten. I have not gotten up in the morning and gone to bed at night, and I've been working in this field with children and with families for almost 40 years. So it's very hard for people who are not affected by this directly to know exactly what it is that you go through. Don't let them stress you out. Don't let them judge you. Don't feel judged. Just remind yourself that this person doesn't have a clue. They don't know. And what they're doing is they're trying to help the best they can. The fact that it bothers you, you can let it go. You can let it go. Don't let it bother you. This is the same as when we take our kids out. It's funny, yesterday, a couple days ago, you know Josh, who used to work here, very tall Josh, right? So he and his
the beautiful baby
and they're engaged now.
Yes, they are.
And he was just telling me, we were out in the car, and he said something. They have a baby, of course, a couple of years old almost, Carson, and he said, you know, it's amazing. I think it was him or someone said to me, it's amazing how you are as a parent once you have kids, you know,
yes,
how different you are once you have a child. And you used to go out to supermarkets and you'd see these kids freaking out, and you'd be like, why doesn't the parents control their kid? And yes, now you have that freaking out kid, and you're like, well, he's just a kid,
right,
you know, and he wants to
having feelings.
Yeah, exactly. So for those people who give advice where it's not really needed or necessary or helpful, just it's the same thing. They don't have the child. They don't know. And they're just doing the best they can as well.
You know, my favorite phrase, other people's opinions of my parenting is none of my business.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Isn't that great? I'm going to get it crocheted on a pillow. May have to write a book and title it that.
That's
other
so
people's
good.
opinions of my parenting is none of my business.
Honestly.
Okay, so last week we had somebody write in from India a question about meds.
Yes.
And she did write back and said, thank you, Dr. Doreen, for answering my questions.
Mm-hmm.
The supplements that they had suggested, because she was trying to weigh, because they're expensive, she had said the supplements that were suggested are B1, B2, B6, folinic acid, zinc, magnesium, coenzyme 10, and glycine.
Yeah, and these are good. These are very good supplements, and I don't know why they should be expensive.
That's my question.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe, like, if you would email me, we can find you a cheaper way to get supplements. Maybe it's because you're in India. Maybe I need to send you a care package.
Yeah, and maybe that's what we do, because of course we have on our board Dave Humphrey at the Act Today board, who owns the Kirkman Labs, and we might be able to get you a nice package and send it to you.
Yes, so get right to me. Make sure that I have your email address. For those of you who don't have my email, it's S as in Shannon .Penrod PENROD as in dog at autism, I know they know how to spell that, -live.com. So write to me. Let's see if we can't hook you up. Because that shouldn't be really expensive at all.
Right.
All right, we're out of time.
Sadly,
and this is our last time with you for the year. So again, we thank you for everything.
Thank you so much, and I want to wish everybody season's greetings, happy holidays, and I look forward to being back in January with you.
Yay! We're very excited about that. Thank you so much for being here
Shannon.
today and all year long. We're going to take a break now and go to, I believe, the A word, and then when we come back, it's time for Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. My better half, Nancy Allspaw Jackson, will not be joining us today. We'll send our well wishes to her that she gets better really quickly, but we've got a great guest for you, Tyler McNamara. You know, we always love to feature individuals who are on the spectrum. He is a young man, 18, on the spectrum, an author and a motivational speaker, and he's got a book and a plan that he wants to talk with us about. So that and the news coming up after this break. Stick with us.
Oh, there's Miss Jessica. Hello. Hi. Say hi. Ready? What do you see? What is it? What's that? Giraffe. He's getting really good at that. What's that guy? Who's this guy?
We have this one program called MVI, which is non-vocal imitation. So he basically has to imitate whatever we do. So we were working on object manipulation, and then Tuesday I tried doing more gross motor things like clapping hands or standing or jumping, and he was able to imitate all of those. Ready? Do this! Yay! Very good! Okay, here you go. Who's hiding now? Me? Do this! Good job! Okay, here you go. Okay, let's do another one. Okay, ready? Do this! Yay! Alright! Here you go, Rockstar. a fine motor action with a touch nose. Oh, yum! How did that happen? You want more? You want more of this? More? Okay. Good asking. We'll do a couple more actions, okay? Do this. Good job. Do this. Good job. Do this. Good try. Over here. Can you try? Do this. There you go. All right. Here you go. He's been doing a lot more on his own, even just when I attempt him by just holding the object, not necessarily asking him to imitate more. Cat, that's right. He does do it on his own now, which is really cool. Good asking, buddy. Ouch. Line it up.
That one's up. Oh, there you go. See? How many up do you want to go?
You touch the block? God, what is it? Block. Good job.
Sorry, I'm just curious.
Okay. I'm interested too. Touch shoes. Where's the shoes? Let's go try. Okay. Let's see. You touch crab. Where's the crab? Can you touch it with your finger though? Thank you. Did you see that? What is it? Crab. See, crab. That was so funny. I didn't specify, huh? Touch block. Good job. What is it? What is this? Block. This is his receptive labels, so what I just did basically. And our supervisor had written down things that's in his environment that he might not know or that he might know the labels to, or if he's just seen it or heard the label for it, not necessarily know how to say it per se. And I just went through block, guitar, bear, plane, cat with him, and so he actually knows all of them. So I'm actually going to go through his environment just to see other things like shoes. He actually knew almost everything on here except fork, I think. Yeah. So that's actually really impressive. You amaze me every day, kiddo.
We're taking a walk. We just finished dinner, getting ready to go to bed. But part of our after dinner tradition suddenly has been to take a walk. Make sure. Say, come on, Mama. Come on, Mama. Right, Jack? And then we say, stop. Go. 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 Stop. Go. 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 So we're practicing our stops and goes. Stop. Go. Good stopping. Go. Stop. Go. Good stopping, Jack. Stop. Go. Go. Good stopping. Good job, love. Look at me. Say bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Wonderful. We love watching the A Word. Remember, you can watch that entire series, or you can just pop in for different skills that they're working on, but there is a whole series of videos there that you can watch. That is the A Word. But welcome back, and welcome to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. Normally, my friend Nancy Allspot Jackson is here and I always say she's the better half of this show, but unfortunately, if you've been listening and watching the show, you know that Nancy has not been well, and So we love all the well wishes that you've given for Nancy. Keep them coming because we make her aware of them and she really, really appreciates it. It's been a tough time and a tough year for her, but we're hoping that she feels better soon, and we're sending her our love. And I know that you guys are sending it as well. And hopefully, there's a chance that she'll be back with us next week. And if not, she'll be back with us definitely next year. Next Wednesday, we are having a show, but we've got a lot of really special stuff that's going to be happening next Wednesday. We won't have Dr. Grant Bichet, but we've got a couple of great guests. And this Monday, we are going to actually be live on Monday at 11 a.m. with a really special hour where we are going to be taking on the safety of riding in cars with individuals who are on the autism spectrum. We are going to have a special guest who is going to be in the studio with us from the Conveyed company, talking about their car seats, and they are going to have an expert joining us via Skype who is going to go through some of the different things we need to be aware of in the car and why these car seats are so particularly fabulous. I will tell you that I've had a wonderful time in the last week talking with them on the phone. How we got connected with them. You know that I'm on the board of directors of Autism Care and Treatment Today, which is Nancy Alspaugh Jackson is the executive director of that wonderful organization. It's a charity that gives grants to families for the things that they request. So there are several times during the year when families write in and there's a lot of paperwork they have to do and a lot of documentation, and they say, here's what I'm asking for and why I'm asking for it. And the difficult part is that ACT Today never has enough money to be able to grant all of, and they're all amazing. It's horrifying, you guys, having to pick. But there are some requests that come that rip us all right down to the ground. And there was one request in particular that came in that, oh my gosh, from a mom who has many children and many children with different issues, but one child who's on the spectrum and cannot ride in a car because he is unsafe and gets out of his typical car seat, the one that you just go and buy at the general store. Not good enough sometimes for our kids. And this is a 4-year-old who's just getting bigger, and it's just going to get harder. And it really touched something in me because she was talking about the fact that she has to pull over sometimes on the freeway and how dangerous it is. And he gets out of his car seat and is on the floor, and she fears for her life, for his life, and for her other kids. And as each day goes by and he gets bigger, we can all relate, right? I read the letter from her and was so moved. And we had 2 card offices that said, we want to raise money for this car seat because there just hasn't been enough money in these difficult times. And that's why we always encourage you, if you've got time or money, donate to ACT Today or have a lemonade stand or do a fundraiser, because it all matters, right? So we had 2 offices that were working hard to do a fundraiser to kind of adopt this grant. And they had written to us and said, we're getting there, but we're just not quite there, and we wanted to make sure that this family got the car seat. And we looked to see which specific car seat she was requesting, and it was Conveyed, a car seat called the Carrot, and I had never heard of it before. So we called the company and said, can you help us? And we read them the letter, and they said, not only are we going to help you, we're going to give her the car seat, which is wonderful in so many different ways, because then the money that was raised gets to go to another grant. So another child gets to be helped from this. This family gets their car seat. We were so intrigued as we looked at the features of the car seat to see, why did the mom pick this car seat? What's so great about it? And I went, oh my gosh, this car seat is amazing. Let's do a feature on it. We've got to do a feature on this, because I don't think if I don't know about it, I'm assuming there's other people out there that don't know about it. And it's a car seat that grows with your child, because I know we bought a car seat, and then we bought another car seat, and then we bought another car seat, right? And then my son was too big. And fortunately, at the time that my son was too big, we were far enough in card services that my son was doing well enough that we could go to just a regular booster and then go to the regular car and being in a seatbelt. But that's not everybody's story. And for our kids who get significantly taller and are bigger and sometimes are self-injurious, and there's other people in the car, right? So thrilled. We're going to be doing that special feature on Monday at 11 o'clock. And then I believe we're going to be replaying it again on Wednesday instead of Ask Dr. Doreen, because it's that important to me, that people have ways of keeping their kids safe in their cars. So wanted to give a shout out about that. So that's kind of what's going on. But then we also, on Wednesday, next Wednesday, we'll be doing Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. And we've got a great guest, a young man who's on the spectrum who is a cook and has his own cooking show on YouTube, and you're going to love it. And his mom will be here with him to we'll maybe have some holiday recipes. So that will be our last show of the year, though. I just want to put that in your calendar, and then we won't be back until the second week of January, because guess what I'm doing in the first week of January? We might put out a little bit of live on Facebook Live, but I can tell you now, finally, I'm getting to go to NASA with Temple Grandin. My son and I went to NASA last year on a trip to, we were in Dallas to meet with Temple Grandin, and we did that video with her in the car with the Maker magazine. And we took her to the airport. She went on to her stuff, and we were telling her, we're going to NASA in 2 days. We went to NASA and had the most amazing tour of NASA. And while we were there, and we were having the VIP tour because we met some amazing people through the autism community to be able to do that. It was life-changing. Okay, I'm just going to say that. And while we were there, we were talking about Dr. Grandin, and as a gift, we had Temple sign some cows, and from time to time, we've given the cows away for special things. But so we gave the flight director, one of the flight directors of the space station, a signed cow. And we said, boy, Temple was so envious that we were coming, and I'll bet she would have loved this tour. And he said, well, if next time you talk to her, invite her. We'd love to have her be a guest. And so it's taken us like 9 months to be able to work, but we're going to NASA with Temple Grandin. And we are going to film, and we cannot be live. But we might get just, like a short live thing before we go in, but then we are getting some actual film. I know, it's exciting. If you have questions for Temple that you want answered, send them. And we might have more news about something live. We'll keep you posted on that. So that's what's on the agenda. And then we'll be back the week after that. But let's dig in with some news, shall we? Oh, and let me just tell you that a little bit later on in the show, we're going to have Tyler McNamara. I don't know whether it's McNamara or McNamara. And he is going to be with us. He is 18 years old, on the spectrum. He's an author and an inspirational speaker, and on the spectrum, and an amazing young man. So he's going to be with us talking about his new book. So that will be coming up in just a little while. But first, in the news, I want to start with a Rutgers study that is a very interesting study, and all over the internet today. They have examined MRI images of more than 1,000 people with autism, and now say that we've all been talking about micro movements for a while, but they are saying that this is an ignored symptom of autism, and that it might be much bigger than we previously had thought. They're saying that and I want to get Elizabeth Torres, who's an associate professor of psychology, who has written the article about her research, and it's been published in Nature Scientific Reports. She says that the person doesn't even know that they're doing these micro movements, and they may not be visible to the naked eye, but they end up interfering with the nervous system because they're random noise. And I think that that's a really interesting way of looking at this. She says that that when a person starts taking medication for autism, that there are some cases where it might be helpful, but there are also cases where it makes it worse. And I think that that's a really important thing for parents to know as well, and for individuals on the spectrum to know when they're making decisions about whether to take medication. She goes on to say that she doesn't believe that these movements are causing autism, but they are certainly worthy of investigation, which I think all can agree on. So micro movements, these really tiny, and for those of you who have kids who have seizures, imagine if there were little tiny, and they're not, it's not seizure activity, but it's tiny movements that they aren't able to stop. And she goes on to say that they put folks in the MRI and that they were instructed not to move. And she said, and that's impossible. Everybody moves. We breathe. We have a heartbeat, digestion. That's all motion. So she was perplexed by how much movement there was with individuals. And she says she learned that evidence of micro movements is routinely scrubbed from images to eliminate any blurs that they cause. She next looked at the scrub data, the very stuff that usually is discarded, for more than 1,000 MRI patients who had an autism diagnosis. She discovered they show far more motion than normal, a nearly constant barrage of signals that can overwhelm the brain. That matches what autism parents have told her over the years. It's as though my body has a mind of its own, the kids say. When I tell my body where to go, it takes the scenic route. It takes my body too long to get there. Her response is, it's not that you're dumb, it's that you're trying to do what a typical person brain does so quickly. Science is stuck in researching what is the cause of autism. She said, we should be asking, what can we do to improve the lives of these people? And perhaps if we can quiet these micro movements, it might be easier to focus. Interesting, right? We'll be reporting more on that in the future. Now, this is some devastating news that has happened here in the Southern California area. We're talking about another student in San Bernardino who lost his life this week on a school bus heading home. He was an 18-year-old student on the autism spectrum in the San Bernardino area. He was coming home from his school, which is Bright Futures Academy in Riverside. They were on the way home, and apparently Anthony Corona, the young gentleman who died, it was around 6:30 at night on a Friday evening. The San Bernardino Police Lieutenant Mike Madden said there was some kind of disturbance involving one of the students who was being transported on the bus. It caused the bus driver to actually exit the freeway hastily. The police have said that Corona, who has had outbursts in the past, and then another student tried to step in to help, and that student ended up getting hurt. The bus driver and two aides then worked to restrain Corona. While they were trying to calm this student and get the situation under control, he apparently went limp. He was not breathing. They called for support, and he was transported to the hospital where he was declared deceased. Now, the school district has said that everyone followed safety protocols when this happened. And this is one of those conversations that is maddening to me, because we hear this kind of thing and the school says, well, we followed the safety protocols. Well, I'm here to say that if that's true and you followed the safety protocols, then the safety protocols aren't working. Because if a young person who is 18 years old can die while you're following the safety protocols, then those safety protocols are a word that I'm too much of a lady to mention. You know what this is my new thing. Every year we get to the end of the year and we talk about New Year's resolutions. And I'm telling you right now that I'm making it my life's business in the coming year and the coming years, because I don't think we're going to get there in 1 year. It's this big of a deal to me that we need to make sure that we give the proper training to people who work with our kids in school settings and surrounding school settings. Now, there's been a lot of discussion over the last couple of days about, let's point fingers and let's blame, and people saying don't blame the staff, and this is a hard thing, and I get that. This is hard for everyone, and we need to give people tools. I don't know what happened on that bus, but I am here to tell you we have to stop this. People have to be trained, and then they have to follow through with the training, and we need to have checks and balances. You cannot just tell me we followed the safety protocols. What are you saying? Then it's not safe for children with autism to be on a bus. It's not safe for an 18-year-old because technically he's an adult. It's not safe for an adult to be transported. That can't be. That cannot be, and we cannot settle for that. We won't settle for that. I'm not suggesting that we continue to have people be in harm's way. If we know that people are going to have outbursts, we know that there's going to be a moment when something happens, we have to give training, and that training is available. It is available. And I put this out on Facebook, and I put this out right here. If you are a person who works with kids, whether it be in a classroom, or you're one of the lunch ladies in the cafeteria, or you're working on a bus, or you're on an aide. For the longest time, we have said to the schools, get them the training. And I have, and so many other people have beat our heads against the wall offering schools training. And for whatever reason, they're saying, oh, we don't need it. I've heard that. Or we already had training. We already, whatever. I can't, and I've offered free training. Schools aren't going to do it. And I've given up on that. We're moving to the side of that. If you can't get through the problem that way, let's go another way. If you are an individual working in a school, you owe it to yourself and to every kid that you interact with to make sure that you get the proper training, because you know how this is going to go. They're going to get a little bit further down the path, and at some point, they're going to figure out something went wrong, and they're going to blame the people on the bus. The school's not going to take the big rap for this. The person who was there who didn't have the right training is going to take the rap for this. Don't let that be you. Write to me, and I will tell you where to go to get training, and we'll work it out so that you can get that training. Don't let a child or an adult die because you didn't know what to do and because you were waiting for the school to tell you what to do. I don't think they're going to tell you. I can put you in touch with the people who will get you ready so that your job will be easier and people will be safe around you, and this won't happen to you. All right? All right. That's all I have to say on that matter. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, I've totally lost track of what time it is. Yes, when we come back, we've got a special guest, Tyler McNamara, is going to be with us, and he is going to be talking about his new book and what he does to raise awareness and to raise hope for the autism community. So stick with us.
Potty training is different for every child. A child could come in with absolutely, no control over their bladder, and as long as that's not a medical issue, then we can certainly approach it behaviorally and give them the tools they need to be successful, just like any other skill that we would teach.
Well, we think he's learning to pee on the potty. No big successes yet, and lots of accidents. Here is the laundry from today.
For some of our kids takes, just a couple days. And then for other kids, it can take months and months and months. And then when you're looking at complete independence, it can take years.
Hey, you have to go pee-pee?
There's a lot of different ways to tell if a child is ready. We look for a couple different things. Probably the most important is parents saying, I need this to happen, I'm ready. Second is, a child showing interest in the bathroom, and some of it is simply age. It's time to go ahead and work on this.
What are you doing? Pooping. You're pooping?
You first start with teaching the child what they need to do on the toilet. The basic thing we want is for them to drink as much liquid as possible. It's inevitable that if you drink a bunch of liquid, you're gonna pee.
Help. No, I can't help you pee. I can hold your hand, but I can't help you pee.
Ultimately, what we want is that, the child, as soon as they're put on the toilet, they urinate. So that's step one. Step two is usually working through the amount of time that they're off of the toilet and making sure that they're not having accidents during the time that they're off. So this is kind of the bladder control stage of things.
So the purpose of the potty log is just to see how long it takes them as soon as they sit on the potty for them to actually urinate, and the amount of time that he's able to hold his urine. And with the log, we're able to visually see how long it takes them each time, and if they have accidents or not. He's on a half-hour potty schedule, so if he doesn't go when we take him, then we have to take him in 10 more minutes. So every 10-minute intervals until he does go, and then we reset the clock, and it's 30 minutes again.
Okay, buddy. Okay, last chance. Last chance to go pee-pees. Do we reset it for 10?
Oh, what does that mean? What does that mean, Jack? It's potty time. We can come play after. Hurry, hurry.
What we hope happens in this time is that the kids will learn how to initiate going to the bathroom on their own. This is oftentimes the hardest part of potty training, is because they get so used to somebody telling them when they need to go that they're not really recognizing the signs just in their own body of when they need to go.
Oh, he wet himself.
Uh-oh. Big wet?
Was it a lot? We can reset to half an hour now.
The biggest thing for parents is not to give up. The other big tip, and I think pitfall that a lot of parents fall into, is putting their children back into pull-ups or diapers, especially if they're starting to have accidents. And this is probably the worst thing that you can do. They need to recognize that feeling of fullness in their bladder and take themselves to the bathroom, or tell an adult that they need to go to the bathroom.
What do you have to do? You have to put your pee-pee in the potty. Okay, give it a shot. See if you can put it in there. There you go. There you go. You're doing it. Yay, Jack. Big prayer for your pee-pee.
Big prayer for pee-pees.
Yay! Woo! Yay! Good job. What a big boy. High five, high five, high five, high five, high five, high five, high five.
Welcome back. So exciting when they get the reward and it happens and they feel that self-esteem of what happens. Again, that's the A Word. That whole series is available to you and you can watch that. I wanted to take a quick second before we have our guest to answer a couple of questions that we've had come in. Somebody on YouTube wrote it in and said, can mild autism cause problems in adult life? Yes. But here's the thing, it doesn't have to. And it really depends on what the issue is, because when we say mild autism, that could mean so many different things. For instance, if it's a flexibility issue, all the different areas of your life, that can present a difficulty with finding and keeping a job. It can present a difficulty being in a romantic relationship. It can, it can cause difficulty eating out. But these kinds of things are surmountable with the right help and support. I think one of the things that makes me break out into hives most often is that people will often say to an individual who's on the spectrum, or to a parent of somebody who's on the spectrum, but it's so mild, they don't need help and support. And that is exactly the wrong thinking. That when you're dealing with things that are mild and are not taking over your whole life, but it's just enough that your life would work so much better if this one aspect wasn't a problem. Oh my gosh, getting just a little bit of help and intervention can really turn things around. And here's what's great about with adults is that the types of interventions are vast. And it's not, we tend to say intensive ABA therapy with the younger kids because we know exactly where they're behind and exactly how to get them on board and get them caught up. For adults, it's vastly different. That a lot of times cognitive behavioral therapy is amazing and can really, there are things like phobias or flexibilities or perseverations. I myself have had cognitive behavioral therapy and been so helped by it. But there are other kinds of therapies too, depending on what the issue is. So, it can affect your adult life, but it doesn't have to. Get help and support. Write into us with specifics so that we can help you to figure out where, and if you want to, tell us where you are in addition to what you need, so we can help to refer you to some areas that might be able to help you. Now, the other question that somebody wrote in on Facebook was, can you say the vitamins and supplements that the person wrote in about in the last segment slower? Now, I do want to asterisk here that this was a parent in India who wrote in and said the doctor had prescribed a bunch of supplements for her specific child, and that she wasn't sure she wanted to do them. They were very expensive, and that her husband was like, I don't know, are these really going to be helpful and useful? So these were prescribed for a specific child, but these are great things to talk to your doctor about to see if they would be helpful to you or to your child. So I'm going to say these again slowly. Vitamin B1, vitamin B2, vitamin B6, folinic acid, but I'm going to put an asterisk next to that one, zinc, magnesium, coenzyme 10, and glycine. That those were the things that were prescribed for her specific child that she was looking to get. Now, the folinic acid, we want to make sure, because a lot of people go, oh, you mean folic acid. If you're thinking about using this, make sure that you watch what the show that we did about what the MTHFR. Because MTHFR is a very specific thing in autism, and you don't want to be switching between those two. Watch the video because we have a doctor who explains about that. Folinic acid and folic acid are not the same, and for some people, if you have an MTHFR gene deletion, you will not want to do the folic acid. It could actually make things worse for you. But I'm not a doctor. Don't take my word for it. Watch the video that we did with I'm trying to think, and his name completely escaped my mind. What the MTHFR, watch that. Okay, now we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back with our very special guest, Tyler, and apparently I'm saying his name wrong, McNamer, maybe. All right, stick with us. I'm going to get it right. He's going to tell me. He's going to school me on how to say it. We'll be right back.
It's every parent's desire for their child to have a great start in life. Yet there is a condition affecting more children's lives than pediatric cancer, diabetes, and AIDS combined. Autism strikes 1 in every 150 children.
Today, 1 in 110 kids in the U.S. will be diagnosed with autism. That is a huge jump from 30 years ago when it was 1 in 30,000.
Startling new report finds the number of children with autism is skyrocketing. The Centers for Disease Control estimates 1 in 68 children has a form of autism. Now that's a 30% increase in just 2 years.
Well, a lot of this has been all the accomplishments over the last 20 years. I'm thrilled.
I think what kept me was the feeling that, you know, I would have a parent come to my office late at night at UCLA and just fall apart. And this is a long time ago, and there were much less back then in terms of services and knowledge and so on. And I would just sit with the family and the parents and walk them through and try to take away some of their fears, you know. And at that point I realized, I think the thing that's actually most important to me is that process. I mean, thank God that I've been very, very lucky and blessed to have so many incredible clinicians join me along the way and just develop CARD in such an amazing, magnificent way. That I could, you know, for me it was more really about how can I help the families? What can I do for the moms, the dads, you know? It is just, and I feel like, you know, there's no way I would ever really know because I haven't had my own child go through this, but I've experienced it with people a lot of times.
Hi, this is Megan. I'm in first grade all by myself. My teachers are so fabulous. I like to read books. I like to go to my friends' birthday parties. I like to invite my friends to my birthday parties. I once had a sleepover with a friend. I like to have play dates with my friend. I'm the best reader in my class. I like to go to the library. I like to read different series of books. And here's how I learned to do all these things. By my card friends and Dr. Grandpichet. Thank you, card friends and Dr. Grandpichet.
Currently, in the United States, 1 in 88 children is affected by autism. 1 in 88 means something different when your child is the one. Recovery is possible. Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, host of Autism Live, an online show about autism broadcast by CARD, the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I'm also the mother of a child with autism, my beautiful son, Jem. You know our old joke, guess what?
Chicken butt.
Chicken butt. So we're gonna take the chickens. But things weren't always so easy. I remember when Jem was first diagnosed with autism. I used to lay awake at night in bed and pray for someone or something that could help us to get our child back. My prayers were answered by Dr. Doreen Granpichet and the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. CARD treats autism and other related disorders using the principles of ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, which is the only scientifically proven effective treatment for autism. It is also recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics and the U.S. Surgeon General. About a year after we started treatment with CARD, we were able to see tremendous improvement, and we got our child back.
What grade are you in?
Second.
You are a smart cookie, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like school?
Yeah.
Do you have any good friends?
Yeah, Oscar.
Oscar is your best friend?
Yeah.
And my child is just one of thousands to benefit from CARD ABA therapy. Across the nation and around the world, children are making amazing progress and being given the keys to unlock their full potential.
Recovery from autism is absolutely a possibility. We've been recovering children for over 20 years. It's just a matter of identifying the child's medical needs, understanding the child's sensory issues, and then teaching the child all of the skills they need in order to function normally.
We know there's hope for autism. Autism is treatable and recovery from autism is possible.
It's always fun, because whenever someone asks, I run away in fear.
We're Asperger's or Us. It's true, we're the first comedy troupe composed of people on the autism spectrum.
So if we're not funny, blame it on Ethan's disability. You should come to what might be our last ever show.
We'll be able to do material that we've worked on but haven't performed yet, and also it'll be really, really silly. We want to sell out Earth.
This is definitely the most challenging show we've had.
We want aliens to come to the show and be turned away because it's full.
There's parts that are screwed up, there's parts the audience doesn't get.
But we're realistic, so if the aliens get in, that's okay too.
It's going to be a disaster. It's going to
Don't
be...
start thinking this way.
I was born this way.
I've been more stressed than I have been in the past.
We're hypersensitive because something's irritating us from the inside.
I'm saying that I feel upset.
All of this stuff that's hard, that's difficult for us, this is what we get for starting Asperger's R Us.
I asked. I'm not talking about you. I want you guys to leave. I just want it to be done now.
It's a lonely, lonely world. This is my diagnosis, the actual time I got diagnosed on the autism spectrum, and I skipped home because I felt freer than I ever had. It explained everything that had ever happened to me that didn't make sense.
When you have Asperger's, you can do things that are really, really great. Not in spite of having autism, but through it.
Doing really good, dude. I'm really happy that we're in this troupe together.
Me too.
And the rabbi interrupts him and says, sorry to cut you off.
These guys are my best friends. I don't really have anything bad to say.
This gazebo has the stupidest sign, because what the hell else are you gonna do in a gazebo? I'm a rebel without a cause, baby.
Absolutely love that movie, and we want to encourage you guys. I saw the other day that they posted that they are now on Netflix. We had told you that it was coming, and so that's now you can get it on Amazon. It's available on Netflix, and it's also on iTunes. So watch Asperger's or Us. In the new year, we're hoping to bring you, Alex Plank has agreed to be the interviewer to interview the four guys, which I think, I want a front row seat to that interview. So we're looking forward to that. Now, for those of you who are keeping track, we're not giving up. Our guest, Tyler McNamer, we are hoping to get him on, technology. We are on iTunes. We are right now live on our webpage. We are live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. And now we're just trying to get Skype to play along, and Samantha's handling that and talking with Tyler's people, and we'll get that all straightened out. But while he's doing that, I want to just recap for those of you who are watching that normally we have Nancy Alspaugh Jackson here with us, and she is not here with us today. She has been ill, and it's at the point where she really seriously has to take care of herself. And so thank you for all your well wishes for her, and keep them coming in. She needs your good thoughts right now, and she's going to be fine, but she sure needs your good thoughts. In the meantime, though, I have been having such an amazing time with Wyatt. That has been a really fun thing. We got to go to Universal Studios this last Sunday with our good friend Spencer Hart, who's been here on the show. Spencer is on the spectrum and it sings beautifully, sings opera. Recently sang at the White House. Oh, come on. Like, how exciting is that? And also went on a trip to China, got to go to China and sing for the Chinese government in China. No small thing. So she's her own little rock star, and what a treat she is. So we went with her and her mom, and Wyatt and my son were there as well. And what a great time that we had at the amusement park. But it reminded me, because my son is a little bit older now, and sometimes they get older and you forget. And we hadn't been to an amusement park in a little while, about some of the things that you need to do to be ready when you're going on a trip or going on an outing or going someplace. And it reminded me, because I tend to do things for my kid and I forget about because you meet one person with autism, you meet one person with autism. We had 3 young people that were under the age of 17 there, and they were all different, right? And they needed different things, and it was very eye-opening to me, and it reminded. So I want to take just a minute to do a refresher course on some things to be thinking about. One of the things that we should all take with us if we're going to an amusement park is snacks, because being able to find the things that were dietary appropriate at a moment's notice, like if we could have trekked all the way across the park, we could get to the gluten-free for one of them, and we could trek here to get the dairy-free, but not where we were ever. So packing snacks that get you from one place to the other, and make sure that they're lightweight snacks. Another thing that you make sure that you do, pack some kind of noise reduction thing. It can be as simple as those little orange plugs when you're at something that you can just pull out, lightweight, fabulous. And make sure that you look at the map beforehand so that you're up on where to go and when to go, and you'll have a much better time. Now, I'm told that we have Tyler on Skype now. So we're not going to go to a break, right, Samantha? We're just going to cut in and short break. All right, and then we're going to be back. Stick with us. Welcome back to Autism Live. We're really excited because Samantha's got Skype all in order, and we have joining us via Skype Tyler McNamer. Did I get that right now, your name finally?
You got it right.
All right, fabulous. And Tyler is 22. I've been telling everybody he's 18, but he's 22. But he is an amazing author and an inspirational, motivational speaker. His book is Population 1, Autism, Adversity, and the Will to Succeed. Tyler, thank you so much for being here with us.
Oh, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Let's start with, where can people get the book?
Well, people can get the book in one of two things. One thing is the easy part, where you get it on Amazon. That's the easy part. But the second part is that you can get it on my website at population1.com. And what's really special about ordering from my website is that they all get a little signed copy for when they receive it.
All right, so if you order it from there, you're going to get a signed copy, which would make a tremendous gift in this holiday season, a signed copy of Population 1, Autism, Adversity, and the Will to Succeed. And who better to hear about that from than somebody who has a diagnosis on the autism spectrum. You were diagnosed at the age of 2. You learned to overcome challenges and embrace the unique perspective that you could offer the world, and that's what the book is about. We love hearing about this. One of the quotes that we have from you, you say, "I have been blessed with autism my entire life. I have chosen to accept my label of autism not as a disability, but as an extraordinary ability. Knowing that this viewpoint could help those who struggle with being different, you have decided to write the book and inspire others." And we love this. You speak, you are available for speaking engagements, and I guess that people can have you speak at their engagement by going to the website, population1.com?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So Tyler, let's talk a little bit about, because we don't get as many opportunities as we would like to talk to somebody who is your age and has gotten through the challenges and have found the way to be positive. So I wanted to talk with you a little bit about what some of those challenges were. I'm sure that you were bullied at some point. How did you handle bullies, and what advice do you give to young people who are currently being bullied?
Well, bullying is definitely a no fun thing. I never really say, oh, I hate the bullies and stuff like that. I don't really say that. I just hate the act of a bullying. There's kind of a big difference. When I was younger, I thought they were the same, but no, when I was in middle school or high school, they're completely different things. So one things I would like to do, when it comes to bullying is that you always, count on your teachers or the adults, because, when I was in school, those were pretty much, like my closest friends back in the day too, were just a bunch of these adults and teachers. And, feeling like, since they're so big and tall, I can trust them, saying, hey, this kid's giving me a hard time. I don't know what to do, that kind of stuff. And I always say that never be afraid to tell a teacher or your parents when it comes to this kind of stuff. And actually, one thing I did make very clear one time. This was actually very recent. I was very afraid to tell my dad, is that back in YMCA, it was a pretty terrible time. I didn't really quite, like that place. I was bullied, and the teachers didn't really help as much, and I didn't really tell my dad about this whole thing. The reason why I didn't do that is because I was afraid, saying, "Oh man, this would be a waste of money, and I should stay at this YMCA so that Dad doesn't have to, stress out about finance and such." But that was just me back in the day. So my advice is, don't worry about that and stuff. You gotta worry about yourself, worry about your safety, because no one else, no one deserves that kind of bullying treatment. And
that's great advice, Tyler, because I think a lot of times as parents, we just hope that our kids would tell us, and how great is it for us to hear from you that sometimes you guys don't want to tell us things because you're afraid of what we'll think about the money situation.
Yeah,
but
that's right.
Great advice to give to the teens. Make sure that you tell an adult. And if you're telling the teachers and the teachers aren't listening, make sure you're telling your parents. And great information for us to hear as parents, that sometimes you won't want to tell us something because you're afraid of what it will mean in terms of all the other things that you've heard us talking about, the money things. So I love that. And Tyler, let's transition a little bit to transitioning, because a lot of people are afraid of that period of time when school is over. They call it the cliff, because it's like, you know, figuring out what to do once the services stop. So what was it like for you leaving high school and making that transition to adulthood? Because you've done a great job.
Yeah, thanks. Just a little quick add-in with the whole bullying thing.
Sure.
Is that you know, it takes some real courage and some real, it takes a really tough kid to actually stand up and you know, just tell adults about what's going on. You know, don't be afraid. You know, it takes courage. You know, to tell adults.
Absolutely.
Just gotta put that out. So transitioning from you know, high school to adulthood, I'll be honest, it was pretty scary. It's a really scary thing. I'm not gonna lie. Not only because not because I don't really know what to do and stuff too, because you know, I got the book thing all taken care of, and so, you know, I was thinking of, you know, going to the bookstore as a part-time job. I felt like, you know, I got a good gig and such. And I even kind of wrote a little short story about, you know, end of school crisis, I called it, which is about, you know, oh man, school's going to be over. You know, I'm not going to see these familiar faces again. By familiar faces, I mean, like, you know, teachers and students and, you know, the whole familiarity of the whole school itself. You know, it's scary. You don't know what's going to happen next and such. So after graduation, I, you know, go to this place called it's called Adult Living Program, and that's the part where they say, hey, you need some extra help on getting a little head start on how to get a job and, you know, pay bills or you know, that kind of stuff. You know, living on your own, that kind of stuff, that kind of thing. I had kind of a little bit to help on that kind of stuff. At first, I was thinking, oh man, this is ridiculous too. I thought I couldn't handle this by myself. But no, I kind of accepted the help, and it became a huge asset when it comes to doing that and doing community college at the same time.
And I think, Tyler, you know, one of the things I see in you is that you have been so successful in part because you have utilized what services that were available and said, I might need help with this, I might need support with that. Let's talk a little bit about anger, because I'm sure that you, like everybody else, has frustration sometimes, and because communication at one point was something that was a little bit more challenging for you. What strategies did you use to calm yourself down and to deal with the frustration, and how do you deal with anger today?
Yeah, well, I'll be honest with you, you know, because anger was definitely a big challenge, you know, throughout my, you know, when I was a toddler and, you know, childhood, teenhood, and all that kind of stuff. You know, it was pretty tough. You know, you know, I always kind of say that, you know, feel free to ask me what it's like to be a freak, right? And yeah, but yeah, it was pretty tough. You know, anger was just one of those things that just kind of, you know, gets you when people just don't understand you, or that people are trying to, you know, speak very slowly so you understand, that kind of stuff. You know, that was really tough. It was no fun. So one of the strategies I would do, and this has happened, you know, for a long time during my school years, is that I would, you know, find an appropriate time to take a break, which means that you gotta find like a dark corner or someplace that's dark, or some place that's you know, quiet, very spacey, and so, you know, so I would just go to, you know, dark corner, and I would say, you know, stand up straight with a straight back, and then close my eyes, and then do some deep breathing, and that's one of the main things that I would usually do. Even today, I'd still, you know, I'd take the time for a little time out, and you know, and when things get pretty challenging, and there's no like dark places or dark corners or anything like that too, and you're in the middle of something, then you just like take at least 5 seconds, to straight back, just take one big deep breath, and then just exhale just slowly, and that's what I usually do, and then you're easily recharged when it comes to anxieties and knowing how to go through this peacefully as well.
Great advice for all of us, Tyler. I don't think there's a single one of us who couldn't take, that advice and use it to our benefit, to take a break, to go to a place where there's not a lot of sensory stuff and take a breath and take a moment and center ourselves. Amazing. And this is one of the reasons why people should get your book, which is Population 1, Autism, Adversity, and the Will to Succeed, or why they should reach out to you to have you speak at one of their events. And they can go to population1.com to find out more information about the book. If you order it from Population 1, you will get a signed copy. If you go on Amazon, you can get a copy of it as well, but you're not going to get a signed one. And that doesn't make it as good of a gift as it would be if you had Tyler's signature in it. And unfortunately, we're out of time, Tyler, but I wanted to say before we left that you are currently working on your second book and a screenplay. When do we think we're going to know more about those?
Well, the second book is going to be a spiritual successor to the first book. I even came up with a title of it. It's called Joining Population 1.
Join Population 1. Well, we can't wait to hear more about that, Tyler. We are full on out of time. Samantha's playing me off here. But Tyler, we thank you so much. Again, check out the first book, Population 1, Autism, Adversity, and the Will to Succeed. You can get it on Amazon.com, but better solution to go to population1.com, order it there, and then you'll get a signed copy, and you can read more about Tyler and what he is doing as a motivational speaker. Tyler, you're such a joy. I thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you for letting me be on the show. This is a grand pleasure. Thank you.
It was a great pleasure. Thank you so much, Tyler. Bye-bye for now.
All right, take care now.
Take care. Bye-bye. And just in closing here, we've just got a little less than a minute left. I just want to talk about tomorrow's show because it's our last Thursday of the year for Autism Live. I can't believe it's all, we're putting 2016 to bed. A couple of things that I want to let you know about tomorrow. The Festival of Toys continues. You see that we have the Lux Blocks. We've got an interview with Lux Blocks coming up tomorrow. We're going to be talking about some toys from Learning Resources that are really amazing. And we have sort of our bookend here. We kind of started everything with Astra, the Association of Toy Stores of America. I think that's what Astra stands for. And we are going to have Kim Moynihan back, and she's going to talk about, you would not believe the toys that are on my desk. Before we go, I promised that we were going to talk a little bit. We have to do a big farewell and a sad farewell to Alan Thicke, an amazing artist. He was a talk show host first, and then became all of our dads on Growing Pains. And what you may not know is that Alan Thicke was a huge supporter of Act Today. He attended Denim and Diamonds and was always somebody who was willing to give a helping hand when he could. This is a huge loss for everyone, but most especially for his family. We are devastated and so young as well. Just a tearful goodbye to Alan Thicke and a thank you from the autism community for everything that you did for us. I know that Nancy Allspaw Jackson would especially want to thank Alan for all the work that he did for Act Today. You will be so, so missed. And with that, we're out of time today, but I hope that you guys will join us again tomorrow. We'll have lots of interesting stories and guests, and the Festival of Toys. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.